Hey folks, how's everyone going today? We have some KVMs to look at that are made out of SBCs, hence we're going to have a gander. But first of all, 10k subs. Thank you kindly to all of your support, especially the patrons, but I can't believe I hit 10k subscribers, so that's excellent. Apparently not many of you do actually subscribe though, so if you'd like to hit the subscribe button below, it would make a huge difference. The algorithm really likes it. But today we're going to be looking at NanoKVMs and PicoKVMs and that sort of thing. It's not going to be a long or complex video. I just thought these are really cool and I've got these ones in stock now. So, and I'm shipping to the US again as well. Now, to get into these, we're of course going to have to connect to something. So for that, I've just got a Radja Rock 3A, I think this is, yeah, that I'm going to use. And that'll be our host that we pass through, and we'll test, you know, the basic features. We'll compare them a bit like SBCs, because these are SBCs with some add-ons, and see what we think. Let you know where to get them if you want one yourself, and we'll go from there. So first things first, let's look at what we've got. That's better. Now, what we've got here is the Luckfox PicoKVM. This is a brand new product that I'm quite excited about, which is why I got it in stock. We've got the NanoKVM USB from Sipeed. Now, these were all sent to me for free, but they're not sponsored by them. This will be sponsored by PCBWay, who continue to support this channel, but we'll get into them in a little bit. And lastly, we've got the NanoKVM Lite, which is more like the Sipeed NanoRV, and I think I've got one left of those, but it just shows you basically how to make these things yourself. Now these, of course, as I said, I've got in stock, but these ones I was actually put onto to Sipeed and to this product through Charles from the UY2 store. So I'll link to him for those. He's on Reddit as well. Really lovely bloke, can definitely help you out. Let's, I think, start with the NanoKVM Lite though, and have a look at this, because this is really interesting. This is a LicheeRV Nano. If we go, if my controls are working up close here, that's got this MIPI-CSI to HDMI board built onto it. So you've essentially got your two buttons, your USB-C for power, and that'll have the RNDIS as well. You've got the HDMI port, the little connector there, and some 10100 Ethernet with extra interfaces if you wanted to make use of them. But as you can see, or you might be able to see, that's an SG2002 SoC. So this is a RISC-V processor that's running this, and I'd imagine that that's what they've built this out into. So I haven't seen what these are priced at, but essentially it's a SG2002. The specs say it can't do H.264, that's work in progress, but it can do MJPG, 90 to 230 milliseconds latency, no PoE, obviously. It does say that it supports SD card. Oh, yep, so there's an SD card slot there if you wanted to make use of that. And it draws about 1 watt. You've also got the typical features like storage emulation, and you can VPN to it or access it remotely. I don't necessarily want to call it VPN, using Tailscale, which looks pretty awesome. So this should, as best I understand, be something that we can plug into the computer, access in a web interface, and see what we've connected to it. Now, what has me a little bit confused here is the interface. So that would have to connect to the host to pass through the keyboard and mouse, and then you've got Ethernet there. So we'll try that out. What we're going to do that is I'll grab this. Here we go. Let's get these things in place. I'll grab this network cable and plug it in, and it should get a DHCP address that I'll have to go and check. Now, this is currently plugged in and connected. We can see if we jump over to HDMI, we just have that Ambient desktop there. So that's what we're going to want to see in our web browser. For now though, I'm going to have to unplug this, connect these two together, and I'm going to need to get a USB type A to C cable. So give me a sec, I'll just grab those. Alrighty, so we have a type C to type A. I'm going to plug that in there, and just into one of the 2.0 ports there. So that's given that power now. And let's just get this HDMI interface kind of jankily plugged in here. I'll leave that in the, whatever you want to call it, in the elastic band for now. So in theory, we know this is running. We've got our keyboard and mouse and storage data over this. We've got our HDMI image over this. and we've got a network connected to our KVM Lite. I'm going to quickly go and grab my router logs and see what IP address this has got, and then we'll see what comes up in the web browser. Back in a moment. Well, back for a second, because it's not quite as I thought. You need to flash an SD card with the image from their GitHub repo for the Lite version. In small print in the doco, it specifically says that. So now that we've done that, let's just unplug this cable. We are going to slide the SD card into its little slot on the bottom there. There we go. And we'll plug this back in. In fact, I'll use the USB 3.0 port this time, just for compatibility. I don't know whether or not there's a 3.0 connection on here, but it'll probably be in the documentation if you're curious. If you're using any USB storage over USB, say you want to boot an image to this through the virtualized storage option, then you probably do want that slightly faster interface. Now that that's booting back up, we can actually see that there is flashing blue lights in there that we didn't have before. So I'll grab the IP, we'll jump over onto the computer, and we'll see what the web interface looks like. All right, here we go. So we can log back in, or straight in theory with admin. And that has done it. Let's see. Yes, I know I should change my password, but I'm not going to. Let's see what it gives us. Right now it just says it's loading. Video mode MJPG. Mouse. Resolution. Oh, I'm not seeing much going on. Let's plug back into the HDMI input for a tick. So over here, I'm just going to unplug this. I'm going to plug into here and make sure that we definitely still have an image. So now if we jump to, not that one, HDMI. No, it might have gone to, oh, there we go. Interesting. All right, it popped up with something. So it might be getting confused, or I might have accidentally clicked something somehow. Let's unplug that. We'll put it back into the NanoKVM Lite, and we'll go back to our desktop. There we go. All right, so it might have just gone to sleep then. I wouldn't blame the NanoKVM at all. So, well, this is feeling pretty good. All right, let's try changing a few of these settings. So does this support H.264? Yes, it does. They did say this is a work in progress, or WIP, it says in the documentation. So we don't know if it's going to be great or not, but we can certainly test it out. Let's go to lossless quality 2 and full screen. So this is feeling pretty good. You can see the slight latency in the mouse there. So we go web browser. All right. And just to compare the latency, let's switch to MJPG. Yeah, about the same. Oh, well, yeah, of course, I haven't got internet plugged into this thing. Do I have any basic games installed? I don't think I do. All right, so MJPG definitely feels a little bit laggy. H.264 is pretty good. And what other features do we have? We can send control delete. We've got a few mouse modes, which is pretty sweet. Image upload, download image, interesting. Sending scripts. Ooh, okay. That's cool. So that's to jump straight into the NanoKVM terminal. We've got a serial port terminal though. So, that's neat. So if you do have something connected with serial, you can connect straight to it through here. So that could be very handy in the fuller versions. We then have some power control. Again, that would require configuration. And we've got some basic configuration options here. So what is this Sipeed NanoKVM? It's their own firmware, it looks like. This is where you can see, I don't know, it doesn't say WIP anymore. It's just in their wiki that it says that. Appearances, device access. So once we change the password, we can enable SSH and OLED if we have one connected. Tailscale configuration for remote access. And it seems to support OTA updates, which is pretty awesome. Now, I did just download what appeared to be the latest image from their GitHub, but let's try the over-the-air update and see what happens. So it does appear, KVM Lite, that some of the documentation is a little behind. If we jump in here and have a look at the details, you can see it still says that it's work in progress there. And you can see some of the other options that they have. That update has started. So we're going to give that a moment and we're going to start looking at the next product. So back here, we can keep these carefully plugged in and moved over there. That's worked really well. They've also got this NanoKVM USB. Now, I wanted the NanoKVM Cube, but they didn't send it to me. That's going to be their loss. We're still going to test both these out. You can see this is obviously a more fully fledged product, and Charles at UE2 has this for sale. It's $44.23 US normally. He's got it listed for $37.77 at the moment. So just over $5 US off. Now, this of course has a few more options as well. If we jump in and have a look, some of the documentation was missing details, which is unfortunate, but I'll go over that in a tick. Basically, we don't know anything over it doing 4K 30. We don't know if it supports H.264, if it supports VPN storage emulation. We don't know what the power specs are. It just comes with a case and some cables. So we'll have a look at that. It comes with a USB-C cable with a Type A adapter. That's pretty awesome. We've got, what else we got here? The device itself. All right, so target and host. I feel like the wording is slightly ambiguous there. So target output HDMI, and you can pass that through to the host. And then you've got keyboard and mouse. So from what I understand, this can act as an extra keyboard and mouse connection, or an extra USB connection to the target, or you can pass through to the host, and that's the USB port at the back. We get a little HDMI cable, which is definitely very handy. And we've got another USB-C. Now, did I open this and... No, I'm assuming this is everything it came with. So, all right. That we'll plug in and test out in a tick. The update has finished though. So if we go back to here, let's just quickly log in again and see if anything has changed. Don't want to save that. That all looks much the same. So we can actually do 60 Hertz, which looks like it's working. We have two other, what's this? Enable HTTPS. So we can do direct H.264 when we've got HTTPS enabled. That's some new features. And Wake on LAN, that is quite excellent. That is very handy to have. CD-ROM mode, I can't remember if that was there before. There we go. So SSH is enabled now, even though we haven't set a mouse jiggler. That's cool too. So even though we haven't set a password, it does enable SSH access now. That is interesting. This does otherwise work well though. I've got no issue with this. This seems like something that would be very, very handy and easy to use. What I'm curious though is how different is this? Because this is small, oh, there we go, and cool. This is a LicheeRV Nano that literally just has this HDMI interface added on top. So you could assemble one of these yourself just by ordering the parts and flashing that image. Yep, I'm legitimately impressed with the simplicity and ease of use of that. It would be nice if it had onboard storage and came with the image pre-flashed, or if the documentation was a little bit better, but honestly can't complain. Back in the box you go for now. Thank you for sending that. That was fun. Now we have this, and I noticed it is a little bit rattly. All right, so can we pop this out? I'm just curious. There we go. Disassemble. This is its own dedicated hardware. That's definitely interesting. So on there we have an MS2131. I've not seen that SoC before, and I'm not sure what it is. Let's have a quick Google. MS2131. Okay, so it's specifically for AV capture. Very interesting. Whilst we're here, I do just want to point out that PCBWay is continuing to sponsor this channel. We really appreciate it. And they're really good sports. They also make some great products. Even if you're not into PCBs, in case you haven't seen before, they've got the module store, which is awesome, but they also do CNC milling and 3D printing. So in the module store, you can get all sorts of cool stuff that you might want, even mechanical parts. And if you're doing CNC machining, they have an insane amount of materials they support. But I primarily, of course, use them for their PCBs, and these are the new rulers that get included with every order that I ship out at the moment. They had a recent promotion on with this awesome purple solder mask, so these rulers are included with every order, including if you order one of the PicoKVMs from me that we'll look at last. So thank you to PCBWay for continuing to sponsor this. Now if we get back to this product, so there's a dedicated IC there, and there's a few other little ICs. Oh, that autofocus is horrendous. I don't know too much about what to expect with this, but let's quickly reassemble it. That goes in there. This little button holster will keep it in place. If you can line it up right. That's a little bit fiddly, but that's my own fault for taking it apart. And then we'll put this back on each end. So completely different chip sitting at the heart of this thing. Comes with 2 cables, which is great, and it comes with a tiny HDMI cable, which is great. Let's start using that one instead, just so it's a little bit nicer and neater to connect everything together. We'll use all of their cables, in fact. So HDMI to our target. We have the pass-through option on here, but we're not going to use that. We can, and I'll plug it in just out of curiosity, but there is no Ethernet port. So this is quite an interesting implementation of a KVM. I'm going to get this cable back and I'm going to have to plug it into my computer, and I don't know what's going to appear. So I guess on this pass-through side, I'll plug that in. And on the host side, so that's why it comes with 2 sets of cables. On this host side, I'll plug in the type A into the 3.0 and the type C into the target side here. So that should be right, but not having Ethernet is a little bit confusing. Let's have a look at the documentation for this. So if we go back to the desktop, go over here, we've got NanoKVM USB, quick start. Cool, cool, cool. Switch the additional USB port to host or target. So that's definitely neat. Plug it in and then just visit that. That seems too easy, but it's not working. So it obviously intends to come up as a serial device. We've got some USB video connected and a serial adapter connected, but their link in the documentation doesn't work. Oh, is it? Yes. All right, it's loading something. So we want USB video and USB pass through whilst we're visiting. The serial device is going to be not even in this list. All right, I just cut that there and played around with it a little bit because I am really quite confused about it. We select this USB 2 video and it says it failed to connect to it. Yet if we go to this pass through, we know that's there. So that should definitely be working. It's definitely connected correctly. But yeah, back on the desktop, we're just not getting any input, and that is what we're seeing. We also had this issue with the website that didn't load. So I'm a little bit confused. It might be better supported under Windows. I don't feel like that would be the dependent issue though. It doesn't on Linux, it's TTY USB. And yeah, we saw that there, but it's not actually giving me that TTY USB option, even though I can see that it's appeared on the computer. So this is an interesting one. I'm going to have to say that this isn't a great device as it is. Now, there's a couple of things that could really, really be done here. I struggle to see how this is a KVM, you know, in the normal format when there's no network port. So you need a computer to connect to a computer. Why not just unplug your keyboard and mouse and connect to that? I can possibly see the use case if you're connecting to, say you've got a laptop and you want to connect to an SBC, or you've got a laptop and you want to connect to, I think my color, sorry if this looks different, my white balance might have changed. If you've got an SBC and you want to connect to a laptop, it could be useful for that, but there is definitely some issues, with the case. This is just fell apart whilst I was trying to use it and is quite light. But also the software and the interface. I could possibly firmware update this, but I can't see any easy way to. And the fact that the website didn't even load correctly the first time didn't give me much confidence. So this seems interesting and has potential, but doesn't seem user-friendly out of the box for many reasons. This could do with a tiny Docker update, but seems very, very user-friendly. So these are excellent products. The last one we're going to get into now is the one from Luckfox. And I'm very curious because I love Luckfox, but this is their first foray into a KVM product and I don't know what to expect. So let me quickly tidy this up, double check my white balance, and I'll get back to you in a moment. That's a little bit better, isn't it? So now, the PicoKVM. This is using an RV1106, of course, because it's in their Pico range. So that means it's an A7 core, unlike, which is ARM, unlike the RISC-V core we were looking at before. Although, technically, this has ARM and RISC-V, so it could be using either, but we know this is definitely using ARM. All the specs look like it does everything that, oh, that's loud, hang on. All the specs look like it does everything that we would expect, but of course I haven't tested it yet. It doesn't come with any case or any cables, so, especially having a custom pin out, that's going to be interesting. So we've got Ethernet, USB, some pin connections, HDMI in. We have boot and reset, that is excellent. SD card slot, screws on the bottom, and what looks like a little OLED screen on top. So whilst the NanoKVM USB is supposed to support 4K 30, this is only 1080, same as the NanoKVM Lite. This does H.264 though, and it says the latency is only 80 to 200 milliseconds, so theoretically should be better. Of course has Ethernet, none of them have PoE. That, I mean, I could definitely see the benefit, especially something this small. It would be great if it had PoE, so if you've got a server, you can just hang this off your switch and connect it to your server. What else have we got? We've got storage emulation, power control through those GPIOs, but the lack of pins is a real problem there. And yeah, there's nothing else in the bag or box. But it's 32-bit 1.2 gigahertz core. So we'll test it out first, but we'll open it up and we'll have a look at what's inside because I'm pretty certain it's going to be a Pico Mini B. It also apparently has 8 gig of storage on board, but you can use the SD card to record or upload your USB media. So you say you've got a Linux Mint installation media, you can store that on the SD card that's not hot swappable, so you want to insert it before you power this thing on, but then you can connect that ISO or similar image to the host that you're connecting to. This is quite well made though, and all screwed together and not loose at all. So I'm really quite impressed so far. Let's start getting this connected. So first, Ethernet. Well, that's, okay, let's put it around that way then. And then we'll just use this same USB cable that we were using before. That should give it power as well, I believe. And, oh, there we go. Oh, little Luckfox logo, upside down Luckfox logo. Oh, look at that. And we're gonna actually need to connect the USB cable as well. I mean, HDMI. HDMI is what I'm talking about. Excellent, let's peel this off. That is really quite lovely. So it's immediately done an NTP update, network time protocol, pulled the current date and time for my location. So, oh, all right. So it's swipey, got app version, host name, the IP address, excellent. And we can see statuses there. Oh my God, this thing is incredibly beautiful. I'm really impressed. So CPU and RAM and temperature there, network throughput, If we swipe back, we've got our IP address and MAC address, we've got our connection statuses, back to the start. So that is excellent. This is essentially showing us, what's it doing? Did it reboot? Did it just update itself on first boot? There, that very quick. I mean, I'm sorry that is not completely in frame, but that was nice and quick. So we can go to that IP address right there. Let's see what we get. 10.12.10.36. Oh, no password. Look at this lovely interface. KVM, oh my God. USB, disconnected. What's that mean? I've obviously got some input there, tailscale 0 tier. So you've got multiple VPN options. What's this terminal to? Okay, that's to the device itself. That's cool. Very nice interface there. We can pin it and unpin it. Paste text, virtual media. Oh, I'm just impressed. It thinks it's plugged into my, oh no, it's trying to output 4K, I think. Let me quickly plug in over here. I'll give this a moment to boot back up, and then we'll jump back in and we'll finish testing this. But so far, we've got a device that boots up really quickly, has a beautiful web interface, has a huge amount of configuration options, is really well made, has an OLED screen with all of the details, has heaps of technical options in the interface as well, and just seems to work out of the box with no documentation even needed. It's really quite phenomenal. What I do want to try is the over-the-air update and see what else that changes. I'm not expecting it to do 4K, but then we'll open it up and we'll see how they put this together. Now, as I said as well, I do have these in stock. So if you're wanting to get one for yourself, feel free to jump over to my website, shop.platy.ma. I have heaps of SBC stuff, and I'm always adding new products. I've got a pile of new products that I've got to add, but you can see them on the homepage under newest products here if you're ever curious. So that's obviously the newest one. If we go back to here, we just have to essentially wait for the ambient image to boot back up, and we should have something that pops up. We'll give it a sec and see what happens. And we're back. I actually wandered off and did something else in the meantime, but oh, you can see that latency is really quite excellent there. So just to, oh, this is so good. What if we, okay, we've got that little thing. Let's try changing the quality here. Let's just go, all right, saturation, no. That's cool, actually. It lets you change the EDID, so you can make it pretend to be whatever you want. Doesn't look like we could change that quality up there. Display orientation, brightness, when today. All right, that's all the OLED. So what we might want to do as the last thing is update this, because I know there was an update just shortly ago. Since this is essentially just another Rockchip device, we have the boot and reset buttons and our HDMI port. What we can do is I'm going to hold boot whilst connecting. Why did I say HDMI when I meant USB? I'm just tired, all right? I meant to be at a family dinner, but I'm not there because I'm too tired. Family lunch. You can see my problem. I've downloaded the image for this, so we're just going to flash it now. Let's do that. One sec. All right, so to flash this, we're just going to use Upgrade Tool on Linux. The documentation shows you what you can use on Windows, and I believe this works on Mac too. The documentation is great, by the way. I'm not even going to bother getting into that at this point. So we can see the device is there. All we need to do then is go Upgrade Tool, just quickly check what the documentation in here says, because I can't remember. UF, update firmware. And I'm pretty certain I downloaded this. Yeah, Luckfox PicoKVM image. And it's just going to push this latest image, which you can see is dated 25/10/14, so 4 days ago at the time of writing, down to this device. And we'll jump back and we'll see it boot back up. And I'm curious what version it says. It was 002 before I updated it. So something completely stable for such an early release. And hopefully with even more awesome features shortly. 3, 2, 1. Is it going to boot back up? Hey, there we go. What do we got here? Yep, so 003. Let's reconnect the things that it wants. It's trying so hard to... we don't want that USB, we want this USB. Whoops-a-doodle. And we want HDMI as well. Look at me getting the names of the connections right this time. So that'll boot back up. We'll jump back into the web interface. We'll see if anything has changed. And you know what? I think I'm actually going to use this a lot. I'm not sure exactly what for. I know someone was talking about using one for their PlayStation recently. I've got a NAS that it could be handy for because it doesn't have any way to shut itself down. So I can remote into it if I'm at work and I know the power's being cut or anything to that effect. Yeah, quite a few options there. If I'm not using this dicky cable that actually came with the Sipeed device though. Okay, there we go. That's booting now. So yeah, sorry Sipeed, your cable, possibly just because of this adapter that you can't quite see here, is really not awesome. Now, back onto the computer, we can see it actually detected that I'd unplugged the device. If we refresh this now, oh, has it even got the same IP address? No, it's, well, that's my own mistake. It's .138 now. No password. We got both languages there. I don't think we had last time. And this is looking excellent. So, connection details, that's all still the same. VPN settings, full screen, all those other options that we had. Can I do any better video? I'd love to be able to do lossless, but it doesn't look like that's an option. So this is, yeah, very fast, very responsive, works incredibly well. I'm just all around happy. Let's crack it open. The last thing is, like, what else could you use this for? I'd love for you to tell me in the comments what you think that this would be handy to use for. Besides as a KVM. Like, obviously you've got a touch display and you've got standard interfaces. You could theoretically do a few things with it. If it's going to be HDMI in, you could use this as a capture device of some sort, as a remote camera interface for something like my Blackmagic camera that doesn't actually have a web interface for the stream and does have 1080 out through HDMI. There are a few options, but you folks generally come up with ideas that I don't even think of, so I'd love to hear it. Wow, it's a completely dedicated bit of hardware. I don't know why focus isn't really showing you what's going on there, but whatever. So I'm not even entirely sure how to disassemble this. That case really doesn't give us access to much. This thing is very, very well assembled and kind of clipped in there. So it's obviously not any device we've seen before. It's not any of the normal Luckfox devices. They've made something new here, and I'm not going to continue to risk destroying this because I want to use it. And, well, is that upside down? Yep. But you've obviously got shell access. You can use the Pico SDK, I would imagine, to build your own image for it. It doesn't have a video output interface. It's got the video input interface, which is going to be a HDMI to MIPI-CSI adapter, I'd imagine, because the Pico series are meant for cameras. But I reckon you could build your own image with the SDK that does whatever you want and flash this thing to do, yeah, pretty much anything. I just wish it had PoE, and I wish it came with a case and cables, but otherwise, this is an excellent product. And yeah, I'd like to thank Sipeed and Luckfox for sending me these. Don't forget, if you want any of these Sipeed products, go get them from Charles at UE2. I'll put a link below. If you want Luckfox products, I of course stock them. I do want to thank again PCBWay. They keep supporting this, and that is infinitely valuable. But something that is almost more valuable, in fact, it probably is more valuable actually, is the dedicated support from patrons. You guys are really, really awesome. There's not many of you yet, but it's slowly building, and of course starts at only $3 US or $4 Australian per month. And I include all sorts of behind the scenes stuff, including access to videos before they get uploaded, before they go public with no ads. So if you want to support me, come and join here. That would be hugely appreciated. I do apologize that I'm so tired today. I'll try my best to edit out all the crap that you probably don't want to see in this, but I've got the SBC store as well, so do check that out. And don't forget to sign up for PCBWay using the link below. You'll get $5 off your first order, and that shows them that you care about what I do and that they should keep supporting me so I can keep making these videos. So thank you to everyone for coming by, for sending me cool products to test out. I hope you're having a wonderful weekend. Do leave comments below on what you might want to do with these. And I'll catch you guys in a week or two. We've got some really cool stuff to check out, including more SBCs, more thermal cameras, more compute modules, more weird technology. Till then.